make data available to everyone. While International Open Data Day is celebrated on this Saturday, we're kicking things off a little early in Baton Rouge with our version of Open Data Day. Today we'll have a series of lightning talk sessions from different areas of city-parish government. Being lightning talks, we'll keep the presentations to about 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more, and leave some time for questions if there are any. Tonight you'll hear about our public-facing crime stats dashboard, how the Department of Development uses data to address blight in East Baton Rouge Parish, an overview of city-parish financial transparency, and the Citizen Data Academy, which is your one-stop shop to learn about our transparency tools. This session is being recorded and will be available at brla.gov/opendataday and the City-Parish YouTube page. So before we get started, I wanted to share a quick recap of our 2022 Open Data Policy Report, which was given recently to the Metropolitan Council in January. In 2017, we established a formal open data policy to help further advance our transparency initiatives. The policy establishes an open data by default mandate. That means that all data that we collect in City-Parish will be considered for inclusion in our open data portals. Also helps prioritize data for release based on several criteria, including quality and external interest. And we do that through our Data Governance Committee, which is made up of representatives of all the city-parish departments. And annually, we provide a report to the Metropolitan Council on the progress of the program. So we have some stats here from 2022. We added 13 new data sets. 169 GIS data sets were federated within our Open Data BR portal. So that makes 234 data sets available across both platforms and 9.2 million rows of data available in the Open Data BR portal. Our Citizen Data Academy, extremely popular. We added 7 more videos to the Citizen Data Academy last year. And 3 of those videos are going to cover topics that you'll hear about tonight. So outreach is extremely important because we want to make sure that the public knows about all of these resources, and more importantly, that they know how to use these resources. So our outreach efforts includes our Tech Tuesday social media campaign. We've had over 300,000 impressions on that campaign. We had 964 participants sit in on open data and GIS presentations, our 4 videos, and we have over 26,000 views on the Citizen Data Academy videos. We said earlier, Open Data BR has 234 data sets, 9.2 million rows. The EBR GIS Open Data Portal has 80.3 million lifetime views. Quite substantial, very popular. Here you see several recognitions Baton Rouge received over the past year. The Stein Award for Storytelling and the Government Experience Award we received for our Citizen Data Academy. For the 8th year in a row, we're a top 10 digital city compared with among mid-sized cities. And this last year for 2022, we finished 3rd, so that's a major accomplishment for us. And we were accepted in the Bloomberg Philanthropies City Data Alliance. So for 2023, looking forward to this year, we're going to use data internally to make better decisions in city-parish operations. So it's not just about sharing data externally, it's about really using that data internally to make good decisions for internal processes. We want to include more other governmental agencies' data in our portals. So we're already working with the Sheriff's Office. We want to work with Breck, CATS, others to include their data in Open Data BR. We're going to continue to work with Bloomberg on the Data Alliance. And we're going to focus on a blight remediation project there. So we'll be excited to share that with you in the coming months. Whenever the federal government releases the 2020 detailed census information, we'll have that loaded into the open data portal. And we're going to continue outreach through our presentations such as this. And this year we will have had a GIS program for 30 years. I continue to say that we have one of the better GIS programs in the region, not only because of the dashboards and the maps, but because of the amount and the accuracy of the data that we have built over those 30 years. You can view the entire 2022 Open Data Policy Report at brla.gov/open data report. Right. So now I'm going to welcome Baton Rouge's Chief of Police, Chief Murphy Paul, who's going to give us an overview of the crime.
Your leadership, Eric and Warren's, and really helping us make better informed decisions. Some of the things that we're doing here in the police department with a data-driven approach to policing in the city has really helped us become more efficient. I'd just like to highlight how we're using data to not only make better informed decisions, to be more efficient, but on the supervision side. Our supervisors are using this Peace Cop in the decision-making process. We have dashboards for different levels of supervision. It's helping with our patrol strategies, having situational awareness on response times, also allow police officers to look at resource allocations at specific times. So not only does it provide situational awareness for our supervisors, but it also provides it for senior staff like myself as well. One of the things that I love to highlight about what we're doing with our Peace Cop dashboard is how we use it in community meetings. There's so much information out there that is not always accurate information, so much information that drives people's perception about crime. And when I am in these meetings and I'm able to take out my laptop, log into Peace Cop, and give our citizens real-time information about what's happening in the district level, in the zip code, in neighborhoods, and even in their immediate vicinity, really helps put facts and change perceptions about crime in our area. Also focusing on those repeat addresses it's been critical. We've been using that to be more proactive in how we can prevent crime from happening. What I would like to share with you is one of the dashboards that we created for the public, and it's our public facing dashboard. And our public facing dashboard was created specifically for not only transparency, but also to give the public accurate information about crime. Unfortunately, social media and its toxicity, as I stated earlier, drives opinion. But what you're looking at right here is our crime trend analysis dashboard. You can access this by going to our website, www.brpd.com. If you type in Baton Rouge Police Department, it'll take you there as well. If you scroll down on our website, you'll see the crime trend analysis. If you click on that button, it will take you here. This is where services in the city of Baton Rouge. If you look over here to your right, you'll see your overall calls for service for the year. That's year to date. See, it's down about 1%. If you go down right here to property calls for services, you'll see a snapshot of the last 7 days of calls for service. You see we're up around 0.47%. If you click on the little arrow right here, it'll take you month by month. So you see what data was in previous month leading up to this year. So these are some things that we put together to keep the city and the citizens aware of crime. You look at the bottom, you see violent crime is trending around 10.62 over the last 7 days. But if you look at the bottom, we also share homicide data. If you look at homicide data by percentage change, you'll see this, what you're looking at is the percentage of homicides that are down compared to the same time last year. As you see right now, we've had 0 this month, year to date 5. That is updated once a week. So those numbers will change once our analyst forwards the information to our IS department and they'll update it. Those numbers have changed since it's last updated. Felony arrest represents the number of felonies we've arrested from January 1st. That percentage represent the change in percentage compared to the same time in the previous year from January to that point. And the same for firearms seized. We also provided a quick link to our website where you can actually click on the crime stats and you actually see all of our statistical reports. So all the reports, our end of the year reports, are here for your viewing. You can see not only last year, but the year prior to. More information out to you so that you can see what's going on in the city. So these are some of the things that we're doing on that transparency piece and trying to provide as much information as we can to the community on crime. This is one of the initiatives that we're very excited about. Get a lot of positive responses from the community since we made this available for public consumption. So please, if there's any specific data that you're looking for, we encourage you to always reach out to us. These dashboards are always subject to change based on community concerns. So please free to reach out to us. You can go to our website and send an email to us through our website on any recommendations and any changes or suggestions that you may have as it relates to this crime trend analysis dashboard and any other data that you would like the police department to present to you.
Thanks, Chief. If anyone has any questions, feel free to send it through the chat. We're also streaming on Facebook, so we'll be checking Facebook for any comments, questions there as well. So I don't see any questions, and we'll collect them for the entire presentation. So as long as Chief can stay on with us, if we have any questions, we'll get them answered before the end of the presentation. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next up is Lyndsay Hudson from our Department of Development. That department is responsible for issuing building permits, conducting inspections, as well as addressing blight within the parish. And I think she's going to share some of those blight initiatives with us tonight. Lyndsay?
Hi, yes, my name is Lyndsay Hudson. I am the Assistant Manager here for the Department of Development, the Neighborhood Revitalization Division. We are often referred to as blight. A lot of the questions that we typically get, of course, is what is considered true blight. So a blight is when a structure or area is considered blighted when exhibits objectively determinable signs of deterioration, which is sufficient to a constituent, a threat to human health, safety, and public welfare. Blight affects people's lives in many ways, including physical, social, psychological, and economically. The occurrence includes many factors, including making pertinent identification and elimination decisions that are challenging to analyze and structure. When I joined Blight, the first data-driven goal was to break down the departmental silos and get the data in a format for us to share across departments. With that, we needed to leverage various tools to better use data sources to make sense of our in-house data and work towards more data-driven decision-making within a goal to be proactive and more collaborative. We found only using data from 311 reports didn't give us a true perspective of the amount of blight that we have. 311 is a citizen-driven enforcement, but what happens if the citizens don't report the blight? A proactive method has to take over, so implementing the blight survey just made sense. .311 is a citizen-driven enforcement, but what happens with these scorecards you'll see is if they don't actually report it, then there's no way for us to actively be able to track it. So that's why we started with the blight survey. This meant conducting a windshield survey and assigning a score for every blighted property within the city, along with utilizing other data such as the tax parcel from the assessor's office to determine current tax status. We evaluated previous inspections and worked with our building inspector to assemble a scorecard with relevant blight components. Then we dispatched our blight enforcement inspectors to collect the data. 5 inspectors took 6 months to collect data on over 5,700 properties. The logic is that the earlier an inspector can visit a property, the likely to be in violation of city code. The earlier problems can then be addressed, and it's more likely it would be that the property is fixed as opposed to actually abandoned. We will target the worst properties from the windshield survey, and here we have the property score layer overlaid on that survey. So purple to yellow areas should be the department's main focus, whereas the areas in the lighter blue sections would be evaluated to possibly engage and collaborate with other departments. It is our conclusion that the factors observed and identified in the survey supports the finding of blight within the city of Baton Rouge and the need for concentrated efforts to remediate blight and its negative impact on people and property within our community. So our department's goal is to utilize all of the blight survey data and make it available to the public via the blight inspection dashboard. This will enable residents to monitor houses within their local area, with hopes that a nudge is developed to the homeowner to act if their property has fallen into disrepair. The process of managing a tall grass, trash, and debris, or even an open building blight violation is significantly different from a condemnable structure. These are neglected and structurally unsafe buildings, and an order from council has to be obtained. Overseeing this process while maintaining transparency with all parties involved has been a challenge within the department. It is a timely and tedious process that can be frustrating for all, but using this data we have collected in the blight survey, along with inspection data, has helped us to refine the process and procedures needed to get to the finish line, even if that means demolishing the structure or engaging representatives from city departments such as OCD, housing developers, and neighborhood associations and residents. The city is continuing to implement projects and programs to help mitigate and prevent blight within Baton Rouge. Deploying data in the process of fighting blight can significantly advance the code enforcement process to impede vacancies before they actually happen, giving residents a window into the progress in the process of addressing the blight while bringing them directly into the process of mapping properties to increase citywide knowledge. So while building that trust with residents and increasing transparency along the way. So although this is not live just yet for constituents to be able to utilize, we are working with our in-house team to get that up and running. But we did want to show you what the blight inspection dashboard does look like. So it does show the total number of inspections, the inspections per month, the structures by score category, the structure types, as well as a general map that does show those mobile hotspots of the blighted areas. So we do encourage all constituents, homeowners, residents neighbors to utilize 311 so that we have those active work orders put in place so that we can then get those inspectors out to the
And if anyone has any questions for Lyndsay or Chief, what they've seen so far, please post them in the chat and we'll get those answered. Not seeing any, so thank you, Lyndsay. So next up is financial transparency. So City-Parish is similar to most organizations in how we manage our finances. A budget is created, goods and services are purchased, and we pay for those goods and services. It is important that the City-Parish is transparent with each of those steps. This transparency allows the public to almost audit the City-Parish to ensure taxpayer funds are being used properly. This is the City-Parish budget book, about 2 inches thick. So thick we don't even print that many copies of it anymore. It is available online. If you're into accounting or some other financial field, that's your type of reading. But for the rest of us, that's a little bit too much. Which is why we created our Open Budget BR portal. So Open Budget PR gives the public a much more user-friendly view of the City-Parish budget. You can visit this portal by going to budget.brla.gov. So on the home page here, you see, I'm sorry, I'm on checkbook. That's Open Budget BR here. Again, that's budget.brla.gov. On the home page, we have some summary data about revenues and operating budgets. You can also see the top revenue sources and then the top departments by budget allocation. We're going to click on Explore Operating Budget. That drive City-Parish operations, but the citizens typically don't know what funds actually are behind the different departments. So it's best to change the from fund to department. So now we have a list of the departments. You see here environmental services has the most the largest percent of the City-Parish budget. The light thick blue line is actually the budget for this year, 2023. The darker thin line is actually what's been expended so far this year. So hovering over these lines, I'll show you the details behind it. So environmental services, they have a $139 million budget, and thus far they've spent $6.86 million. So environmental services, for those that don't know, they handle our sewer operations and garbage collection contracts. So I don't want to seem that I'm going to pick on other departments. So let's take a look at the Department of Information Services. That's the department that I manage. So we have a $7.4 million budget. And so far this year, we've spent $1.02 million. I'm going to click on Information Services. We're actually split up into 2 divisions. I'm going to go ahead and keep drilling down into IS operations. And now it gives that category breakdown of the budget. So I can switch to pie chart view here, and we can see that salaries for regular employees constitutes a good chunk of our budget, and then followed by the repair and maintenance of office equipment. That's actually our maintenance and support contract for all the technologies that we support. So I'm going to switch back to Snapshot, not Snapchat. Go back to the top level. And I hope Chief doesn't mind, but I'm going to select the police department. I'm going to select divisions. So whereas IS only had 2 divisions, The police department has several divisions, and we can see that the majority of their spending goes to uniform patrol. And that's the men and women who are actually patrolling the streets of Baton Rouge. Again, we can continue drilling down the same way we did for IS. We see the salaries in some of the other categories here. But if you want to see all the categories, but not broken down by the different divisions, we can do that by going back up to the police department and then changing to categories in the drop down here. So now this is across all the divisions in the police department, their budgetary breakdown. You can export this data using the export feature here, or you can access the data directly in Open Data BR. So I switched over to Open Data BR here. I'm going to type in budget in the search. We see the expense budget or revenue budget. I'll pick the expense budget from the result list. Now I'm going to click View Data and wait for it to come up. But this is going to be all the data that drives the Open Budget BR application. So it's important for us to present the data in the way that's easiest consumed for the citizens. And we understand that each person consumes data differently. So while most of the public will find Open Budget BR extremely useful and easy to navigate, the data nerds like myself, we're going to want to look at it in this format, the raw data, spreadsheet style data, where I can sort it and group it and do those type of things with it. And then for our financial folks, they can still go online to brla.gov and download a copy of the PDF version of the budget, similar to what I showed the hard copy. So this is all in Open Data BR. That's data.brla.gov. So you saw where you can find our budget allocations. Basically, how much are we budgeted to spend for this year? Now let's look at what we're purchasing. So I'm going to stay in Open Data BR. I'm going to search for purchase orders and contracts. Again, select it from the search results. And what we start off with when we look at a data set in Open Data BR is the primer page. So this is giving you information about the data set. We try to give as much description as possible to inform the public of exactly what's constituted in that data set. You can see the last time it was updated, how many views, how many downloads it has, how often it's updated. You see this one's updated daily, and we see the different fields that we have along with the field descriptions. Going to click View Data now. And so here is the purchase order and contract data set. So again, we need to be sure you, especially on this one, be sure you review the description because it explains how to interpret some of this data. So for this data set, each contract or purchase order is going to have a header record signified by the H, or one or multiple detail records. So these are the line items of the contract of the purchase order. So as I scroll to the right here, we can see that this first item was a computer upgrade for the new beacon that's in Town Square. Keep scrolling, we can see that it was $9,700. Buildings and Grounds is the department that bought it. The vendor that we bought it from is Mayor IT. You can see all sorts of vendor information here, where they're located from, just different vendor demographics. And then all the way to the right is going to be what the individual items were. So this was new software and hardware, and it totaled that $9,700. Switch back to the left here. And as I scroll down, so that one only had one detail item, but if we scroll down, we see this case management application here for the Department of Human Development Services has several detailed items. I know this can be a little, it looks like a lot of duplication because it's the same information. We duplicate the header information because if you just look at the detail information, so if you're just looking at those individual line items of what was purchased, it's oftentimes helpful to have that header information on those records when you're doing certain types of analysis. So I'm going to scroll to the right real quick on this one. And so these are all the items that make up that contract for that software, case-worthy software. So if we add up all of these numbers here, that's going to add up to this 300,000 number there. So with Open Data BR, we can filter and sort data sets. So let's take a look at department name, and I'm going to search for information services here. And apply it. So now these are all the contracts and purchase orders for information services. So most recently we paid for a maintenance agreement on our FTP service, secure FTP service, aerial photography for a GIS, which Warren's going to speak about a little bit later, video surveillance and network support. So you really can see everything that the departments are purchasing throughout the year, whether it's a service or a good like color copier maintenance, cabling for some work that we're doing at juvenile court, etc. Again, we can export the data from Open Data BR as well if we need to download it and put it into Excel or some other system. Now that was a quick recap of what's being procured. Now let's look at the actual spending. So that's in Open Checkbook BR. So that's checkbook.brla.gov. It's similar to Open Budget BR. We have a summary view here. We don't see much because we're just still relatively new into the year. But if I change to 2022, you can see the trend, the spending trend throughout the year. Traditionally, towards the end of the year, there are a lot more purchases being made. Unfortunately, a lot of those purchases are computers, and my department gets extremely busy in December and January as those purchases come in. Switch back to 2023. And you can also see the top department by spending, the top expense category, and the top vendor. Going to click Explore Spending. And again, it's very similar to Open Budget BR. We see the list of departments. This one defaults to the departments. You see outside agencies here has the most currently. The outside agencies are agencies that are not in our financial system, so you don't actually see their individual line item transactions. But what happens is the sheriff collects the taxes, passes it to the city, and then the city distributes it to those agencies based off of whatever tax referendum that was passed. So if we click on outside agencies, we'll see that Bridge Center for Hope, Council on Aging, Public Defender, all of those are really monies that's coming and passing through city into those agencies. So let's come back here and take a look at one of the departments. Just hit refresh here, next, and then we'll pick on IS again. I'm going to do it by expense category. So far this year, this is our entire expenditures for this year. You can see that we've had around 200,000 in our maintenance and office equipment. Again, that's our maintenance and support. We had 33,000 in professional services. That's already gone out. Communications. What's really cool here is you don't only get to see the summary view. If I switch to checkbook up here, Now I see the individual entries. So you're looking at the actual city parish checkbook as we're writing checks to pay for these services. So the first one's AT&T Mobility. That's our wireless communications for the cell phones that we have in my department. Center for Internet Security is some cybersecurity service. The Sharp printer copier that we have, some other hardware that we purchase. So you can see those individual transactions for any department in the city parish. I'm going to jump up to the entire ledger again. Pick on development this time. So let me come back here. And again, as we drill down, this governs what we see in the checkbook tab. So I'm going to switch back to expense category, and we see that they have quite a bit in professional services. So I'm going to select that. And now I'm going to switch to checkbook. And now I only see those professional services purchases that development made. They have 4 purchases or payments out to South Central Planning. And what South Central Planning is, that's an agency that actually provides staff augmentation for the Department of Development and helps them to process permits and inspections a lot more timely. So that was a quick and maybe oversimplified view of our financial processes in City Parish. I think it gives you a high-level overview of how to find things from when the budget was first created all the way until we actually pay for a good or service. That, I'm going to pass it over to Michael Stein to talk a little bit about our Citizen Data Academy. Michael?
All right, good evening, everyone. Let me pull my screen in. All right, so I'll talk about our Citizen Data Academy. So it's one thing for us to have all this data, but for the public to really get the most out of what we have, they need to know how to navigate our portals and how to use all of our public-facing tools. So we had this idea of the Citizen Data Academy to teach the public on how to use these things. It started in 2020 with live demonstrations where Warren and Eric would teach groups of citizens in person how to use them. It would usually be 90 minutes to 2 hours. But our kind of long-term vision for this was to make shorter on-demand videos on specific topics that citizens could learn at their own pace. And this allows us to script everything out, get really high quality examples, and make, I think, really good tutorial videos. So currently there are 24 Citizen Data Academy videos broken into 4 different modules. Our first module is the Introduction to Open Data, and it teaches the public the basics of our transparency agreement. It teaches them the basics of how to navigate our 2 open data portals, and even gets into the basics of how to make their own maps in ArcGIS and how to use basic analysis tools. The community planning module focuses on our public-facing tools for land development and community planning. So we talked about blighted property. We have a blighted property dashboard for the public. So that's one of our more popular videos that teaches them how to use those resources. The Living in Baton Rouge module focuses on more public resources like the My Government Services app and Open Neighborhood BR, and even our public-facing crime trends analysis dashboard that Chief showed you earlier. Then lastly, our City-Parish government module that covers our public transparency tools. Like Eric just demonstrated Open Checkbook and Open Budget. We go into great detail on how to use those applications, as well as our stormwater management app and the most recent one, the APR projects dashboard. So currently there's 24 videos, but we're going to add new ones and update our old ones as needed in the future. We're about to update a lot of our older applications, and we're going to update or make new Citizen Data Academy videos about those new resources that the public can use them along with us. We're probably going to start with this one here, the planning and land development map. anytime we make a new video, we'll post it here on this Citizen Data Academy webpage. We'll make a social media announcement, and they're also all available to watch on YouTube. You can see we have them separated into different modules here for the public to consume as well. We'll also post them on Facebook and other places. So I'm very proud of what we've made so far, but we're gonna keep pushing forward and hopefully make it even better.
All right, thank you, Michael. And the Data Academy is one of our most popular resources, and it is extremely important because, again, it's not just about putting all these resources out there. We want to make sure that the public understands how to use them. And this is we feel the easiest way to get training in front of them whenever they want, instead of sitting through a 90-minute long presentation by Warren and I droning on. So one more quick update, this time from Warren Kron, who's going to share a little bit about some GIS improvements that we've had.
Thanks, Eric. I'm Warren Kron, the GIS manager for the City-Parish, and I'm going to give you an overview of our EBR GIS portal tonight and some new things that we've been working on. I'm going to share my browser. You can see that, Eric. So to get to the EBR GIS portal, I'll put the link in the chat button there, and this is what it would look like upon opening. A little bit about what's contained here, being maps and applications. As you scroll down the page in our gallery, we feature the most popular maps and applications that the public is most commonly going to access. So a couple of the things I'm going to overview tonight is this a little extra time. I'll actually go through the planning and land development as well. And again, just continuing to scroll down, we do have a section on just dashboards here. A couple of these, Michael mentioned earlier, the ARP drainage projects has been a popular one. And of course, the Baton Rouge Police Department's crime trends analysis that Chief Paul overviewed earlier. Beyond that, we have a series of lookup tools that make it very easy for a user to determine perhaps which council district their address is located in, which roads are either closed or scheduled to be closed throughout the city, and of course, the most commonly used lookup tool is for property research. So you'd enter all of these, start by entering an address, and it would return the results for you based on the search criteria. The next section are other resources, things that we've talked about tonight, like the Citizen Data Academy, direct links to Open Budget BR and Open Data BR. And finally, at the bottom, we have a few story maps that are immersive type presentations that are built around a map. So if any of these are of interest, please take a look at them. I'm going to open up this historical maps and imagery web app. And you'll notice upon clicking this link, a splash page tells you that this app is being improved. And in a couple weeks, we're actually going to deprecate the old one and launch the brand new one. Our software vendor has released new web app builders that we're using newer technology that make the experience or it makes the data loading process a lot faster. So we're taking advantage of that. We have a ways to go yet because we have about 35 of these applications that all need to be migrated. So if you are to see one of these splash pages, go ahead and start using the new link that's presented to you here. And I'm doing so for this one. This is what our new historical maps and imagery web app looks like. And you'll notice upon loading, we have an old photograph of downtown Baton Rouge in black and white. Our city is very lucky to have a collection of historic imagery all the way back to 1941. I don't know of many other places around our country that has such resources available to the employees, but also make over here in the bottom right corner, you can turn on other layers that are visible in this map. So at the top of the layer list, we have old maps of the city and the parish. If I choose the 1930 map of Baton Rouge by clicking on the little eyeball here, it'll overlay that old city map on top of the imagery. And of course, I can zoom in and read that, the square numbers and the old street names. Many of these have changed through the years. We have a whole variety of old maps to overlay the imagery with, including this 1895 map of the parish. If I zoom out, this is one of the very first maps of East Baton Rouge Parish. It shows all the sections that were divvied up from land grants way back when. Downtown area again. And I scroll down my layer list even further. I come to a section where there's various years of imagery available. So by default, again, this map is opening up to show the 1941 imagery, but we also have now scanned and mosaicked the 1953 imagery of our parish. You can see that, there's a little variation in the color. It's just the way, the technology was back then. It wasn't perfect. But this is all about just kind of seeing and understanding how the city grew. So it's really neat to look at. If I turn on the 1959, you can see now in the area around the governor's mansion curve, the construction has begun on Interstate 110. And then most recently, we have added the 1968 imagery, which at this point, a lot of Interstate 110, at least out of downtown, has been completed. You can see where they're clearing the land to go northward to Scotlandville. Even more interesting, if I go south towards I-10 now, all of that road work has been completed out to Airline Highway. Is about where it stopped. So interesting enough, originally I-10 was being built out along the I-12 corridor now, and land hadn't even been cleared. If you look here at the split area, it's still just forest. Again, I just urge folks to take a look at this resource. We're still working on more of these imagery layers. We have the first color imagery of our city and parish is from 1974, and we're working on that currently. And then once that's complete, we're going to add 1981, and that'll complete our historical imagery layers. If I turn off all of these, you're presented with the current imagery. Eric actually noted that we just paid for this service from our vendor Nearmap. The flight that captured this imagery was done on January 13th. So it's really new. You can just see how high resolution this is. We can zoom down and see manholes. Sometimes you can even see people. Without this high resolution imagery, we couldn't do all the mapping that we need to do to keep track of development in our parish. So our vendor provides us with updated imagery every 6 months, and as soon as it becomes available to us, it becomes available to you. So if I have just couple more minutes, Eric, I'll go and open up this other app that is commonly used, the planning and land development, which
Sure.
shows all of our property information for the parish. By default, when the map loads, you're looking at zoning data. It's color coded. So over here, I can click on the legend button and scroll through the legend to understand what all these colors represent. Or I can zoom into an area and click on the property that's of interest to me, and it'll tell me that that zoning district is commercial, heavy commercial, C2. This map also features a bunch of other layers that are not turned on. So by clicking this layer list button here, I can scroll through and toggle on and off the layers that I'm interested in. So if I don't want to see zoning and I want to see future land use, what's planned, I can switch those out. And again, by clicking on a piece of property, it'll tell me that the future land use here is institutional. If you're interested in tax parcel data from the assessor's office, you can turn off the lots and turn on the tax parcels. Give this a moment because it's a big data set. And the tax parcels are color coded by their status. So anything you see in light blue is exempt from paying taxes. Anything in red is adjudicated. These darker blue colors have something to do with an abatement for restoration purposes. And then yellow color coded properties are unknown. The owner is actually unknown. Anything that does not have a color associated with it is real property and is being assessed for the millages that it's due. And again, you can click on any of these and get the details of who owns the property and the assessment values. I think that's it, Eric.
All right, thanks, Warren. And again, there is just massive amounts of data that drives our GIS program. And as I said earlier, it's one of the reasons why it's so powerful. We use it, I mean, daily in City-Parish. We have a whole team sitting in the basement, just making edits to data, adding new data. We have new streets coming in with Move EBR. We have sewer upgrades, enhancements, changes, new subdivisions that all of that stuff is getting processed daily into the GIS. So with that, we'll close out. I didn't see any other questions. Just to connect with us, any of our transparency initiatives can be found on brla.gov/transparency. So that's the open data, BR portal, open budget, open checkbook, open neighborhood, which is extremely popular. It's takes some of our open data, crime incidents and permits and 311 and puts it in a really user-friendly map. We didn't have time to show that tonight. Connect with us on social media, Facebook and Twitter. And next door, we post every Tuesday. It's our Tech Tuesday social media campaign. 3 weeks, actually 2 weeks, we're doing some sort of data or dashboard, new initiative that we have. The third week, we focus on cybersecurity because it's not just what we do here in City-Parish. We've taken a community approach to cybersecurity, and we want to make sure that the community is protected as well. And then I think on the fourth week of the month, we usually do highlight a Citizen Data Academy video about whatever topics we were talking about in the first 2 weeks. And then if you ever want to contact us, do so via email, isoutreach@brla.gov. We'd be happy to share more information about the programs. If there are any, public groups, church groups, homeowners associations interested in learning more about all or just specific topics, we'd be happy to come out and give a similar presentation to you. So with that, I want to thank everybody that participated tonight. Michael, Lyndsay, Warren, Chief, Thanks everybody who was able to join in tonight, both on the virtual event as well as Facebook. And with that, we'll sign off. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.